Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready for a deep dive into a moment that really redefined a nation and a continent even.
It's a big one.
It is a big one. We are talking German reunification.
Huge.
Yeah. A story you specifically asked for, by the way.
Absolutely.
And you know it's about so much more than just politics, right?
Yeah, way more.
This is about tearing down walls, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, it's a powerful example of how quickly things can change.
Yeah.
And how, a single event can ripple out. It can shape the world in ways we might not expect.
Totally. To really kind of grasp the magnitude of this whole thing, let's rewind a bit.
Okay.
Post-World War II Germany.
All right.
Picture this. The country's divided.
Right.
East Germany falls under Soviet influence, embracing a communist system. And then you've got West Germany, aligning with the Western allies, embracing capitalism.
And of course, we can't forget the stark symbol of this division, the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
More than just a physical barrier.
Right.
It represented this deep ideological chasm between these two world powers. And, to really understand the weight of what happened next, you have to think about the Cold War. You have to think about the tension of that time.
Yeah, because fast forward to the late 80s and they're reaching a boiling point in East Germany.
Yeah.
People are, they're yearning for the freedoms enjoyed in the West, economic opportunity, freedom of speech, being able to travel freely.
Yeah, and all of those desires, they culminate in this very, iconic moment. November 9th, 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Wow.
It wasn't just concrete crumbling. This was a system that, seemed unshakable starting to crack.
I bet. And the world watched.
Oh.
Those images of East and West Germans celebrating, chipping away at the wall together. I don't know, it just captured this universal human longing for unity, wouldn't you say?
Totally. And it really set the stage for a truly remarkable event less than a year later.
Okay.
October 3rd, 1990, Germany officially reunified, a day now celebrated as German Unity Day.
From two Germanys to one.
Wow.
Merging two societies that had been totally separate for decades. That couldn't have been easy.
Yeah.
What were some of the, the biggest challenges?
Well, just imagine, trying to blend two totally different economic systems.
Yeah.
In the East, you had a socialist economy, central planning, government control of industries. In the West, a capitalist system, free markets, private ownership.
Right.
Merging those two, monumental task.
It really makes you think about the everyday realities for people living through this, right?
Yeah.
Were East Germans welcomed with open arms, or was there tension? Was there resentment? How did that actually work?
I mean, it was a mixed bag. There was this incredible sense of hope and excitement, especially in those early days. People had really yearned for this connection, this shared identity. But, and this is important, rapid change also breeds uncertainty and fear.
Totally.
Some East Germans felt like their culture, their way of life was, being overshadowed, even erased maybe.
That makes sense. It's a lot to process, to suddenly have your entire way of life shift like that. To go from a socialist system to a capitalist one practically overnight.
Absolutely. And that shift, it had a profound impact, not just on a, societal level, but on an individual level too. Think about the economic implications, for example.
Yeah, I remember learning about this back in school. The currency situation alone just seemed, mind-boggling. How do you even begin to merge two completely different, monetary systems?
Well, it's a fascinating challenge, to say the least.
Yeah.
So for a significant portion of personal savings, they decided to implement a one-to-one exchange rate.
Okay.
One East German mark for one West German Deutschmark.
Wow. A straight exchange like that, that must have been huge for those in the East who had been saving up. But I imagine it also created some unexpected consequences.
Oh, absolutely. The goal, right, was to try to quickly integrate East Germans into this market economy and to provide some immediate stability. But as you might imagine, it also led to some, pretty significant inflation.
Right.
East German businesses had to adjust to Western pricing. The demand for goods and services, it skyrocketed.
So in a way, while it helped some people financially, it also potentially devalue their savings. Because if prices rose faster than they could adjust, talk about a complex situation. Were there any other aspects of the reunification that, that didn't quite go according to plan?
Oh, it's interesting. The reunification almost didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, there were some strong voices, particularly in East Germany, who were really afraid of their identity being completely absorbed by the West.
It's like that feeling when when your favorite little-known band suddenly makes it big. You're happy for them, but part of you misses when they were your little secret.
Exactly. And this is on a much larger scale, of course. This sense of shared history and culture for East Germans, it was very real. And the idea of that just disappearing entirely, it was a real concern.
Yeah. That human element is so important to consider, I think. We often focus on the, I don't know, political and economic shifts, but at its heart, this was about people's lives being transformed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in the grand narrative, overlook those individual stories, those everyday challenges that people faced.
Speaking of which, I read that there were even, films that kind of captured this unique period. Anything come to mind?
There's a German film, Goodbye, Lenin, that does, I think, a really wonderful job of capturing the emotional complexities of reunification. It's a heartwarming and at times humorous story about a young man whose mother goes into a coma right before the wall falls.
Okay, so what happens?
So she wakes up after reunification, but her doctor warns her son that the shock of such a drastic change could be, really detrimental to her health. So her son decides to essentially recreate a mini East Germany within their apartment.
Wow.
To shield her from the truth.
That's quite a commitment. It sounds like a really poignant way to kind of explore the nostalgia and the sense of loss that some people must have felt as their familiar world vanished practically overnight.
Exactly. It sheds light on the, the kind of micro level impact of such a monumental historical event.
This has been incredibly eye-opening. We've covered so much ground, the historical context, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the challenges of reunification, even the cultural impact. It's amazing how one event can have such far-reaching consequences.
It really is, yeah. It's a great reminder that even events that seem, I don't know, distant on a top line can have a ripple effect that shapes the world we live in today.
Yeah, it makes you think about the power of those ripples, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we often talk about the fall of the Berlin Wall as this, turning point in history, but it's amazing to hear about the real and personal ways that it impacted people's everyday lives.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that history isn't just dates and events, it's about the human experience. And in the case of German reunification, that experience, it was full of hope, but also uncertainty and this really profound sense of transformation.
Totally. So as we start to wrap up our deep dive today, what are some key takeaways? What do you hope our listener walks away with?
Well, I think it's crucial to kind of understand that the fall of the Berlin Wall, it wasn't an isolated event. It was the culmination of years of growing discontent, peaceful resistance, and this really deep-seated yearning for freedom and unity.
It's really inspiring to think about the collective power of those voices advocating for change.
Wow.
It reminds us that even when faced with these seemingly insurmountable obstacles, progress is possible.
Exactly. And I think beyond that, beyond the immediate impact, German reunification holds some really important lessons for us even today. It highlights the complexities of unification, the challenges of merging these very different systems and ideologies.
Yeah.
And it also kind of underscores the enduring human desire for connection, for the shared identity.
And it really forces us to look beyond the surface level, to consider those often overlooked human stories within these major historical events, like the ones that you shared about the economic challenges of merging currencies,
right,
or the cultural concerns about preserving that East German identity.
Yeah, exactly. And perhaps the most important takeaway here is that history continues to shape the world that we live in. I mean, think about Germany's role in the world today. They're a leading voice for diplomacy, international cooperation.
That's a really interesting point. Do you think that their experience with reunification, with overcoming division, do you think that played a role in shaping that global outlook?
It's a question worth pondering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did reunification kind of put Germany on a different path? Or would they have become this global force regardless?
Right.
I don't know. There's no easy answer, but it's really fascinating to think about.
It certainly gives our listener a lot to think about. So as we wrap up this deep dive, any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I would just say don't let the learning stop here.
I love it.
German reunification is such a rich and complex topic. There are so many stories out there waiting to be uncovered. Explore those stories, delve deeper into this period, discover all the ways that it continues to resonate, even today.
Yeah, consider this your springboard into a really fascinating chapter of history. And for our listener, if you're eager to learn more, we will include some links to get you started. Those will be in the show notes. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into German reunification. Until next time, keep those minds curious.